to me, my Saturday Night Losers. I am Jesse, the Saturday Night Loser. Welcome to a special edition of Saturday Night Losers. As promised, we are going to speak live. Well, not really live, pre-recorded live with Khalil from Kastors Korner, KastorsKorner.com. Khalil last weekend was at the mythical. He was in Shangri-La. He was, in fact, in San Diego for Comic-Con. Khalil is going to regale us of all the wonderful tales and all the beautiful sights he saw at San Diego Comic-Con. Now, here's the thing. I said this was pre-recorded. It ran a bit long. In fact, it ran almost an hour. And because of short attention spans that everybody out there in internet's land has, I'm going to cut this talk in half. So probably about a half hour each. So it's going to be in two parts. So actually, in my coverage of San Diego Comic-Con, the first part, I said it was going to be two parts. Well, it's going to end up being three parts, is what I'm trying to split out. Well, split and spit out here. So, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, long interview, long talk, half. There'll be two parts to this. Without further ado, I'm going to shut my face hole and get started. Yo, so you made it back from San Diego. How was it?
It was hot. It was tiring. It was sweaty, and it was Comic-Con. So, yeah. I mean,
let me ask you something. What is it like? So you go as press. Do you get into so you go, not including preview night, the first day? What time do doors open? 10 o'clock?
10 o'clock, 9:30, maybe.
Okay, so do you get in there before 9:30?
No.
Or is it like everybody
we don't have any special access to the floor. It would be great if we had the floor for 30 minutes before, just so we can get into the booths, because the booths are usually pretty full. Okay. So I usually try to make a beeline right for whatever booth I'm going to take pictures, so I can get in there and take pictures as fast as I possibly can. Okay. So.
All right. So we have a lot to cover here.
We do.
I have covered some things already. You have been there from preview night on. How do you want to work this?
I was there.
You want to talk about what I've talked about first, and then just dive into everything? Because I've made some things that you apparently want to correct or elaborate on.
I want to say.
You want to tell me that I'm wrong about Shazam?
I think. Did you like Big when you were growing up? Did you like
Tom
Hanks' Big?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So why wouldn't you want a superhero version of this? I hear your thoughts. I understand what your concerns are. My concerns are the same thing, but and the idea that Desmond Hanzu's taken over the Wizard instead of his name just Ron Cephas Jones. I was worried. I was really worried, but I'll name drop. I've met Zachary Levi.
So that's why you love it.
He's a sweet guy.
I'm not saying he's not.
No, but that's what I'm saying is I think that charisma is going to shine through the same way that Gal Gadot is is an amazing Wonder Woman. Is the same way I think he's going to shine as Shazam. I don't know if it's going to work in the same universe. Okay. I don't know if this is going to work into Superman, Batman, or how that's going to fit. But if you treat it as this standalone idea of this is the Shazam origin story for Billy Batson, and Zachary Levi playing the part, you can't get much better than that. He is Shazam. When you look at Robert Downey Jr. and say he is Iron Man, you can't picture a guy who is late 30s, early 40s, who is more of a Comic-Con geek than Zachary Levi. He was, before Nerdist took over at Comic-Con, Zachary Levi's Nerd HQ was the premier thing for those people in town that couldn't go to the show. It gave them someplace to go. So
did he give you money?
No. I just, there are times that, I've heard this thing said before, that there are people that are fans of people, and there are people that are followers.
Yes.
Followers are just kind of yes, sir, no, sir, whatever you say, we're going to follow you. You know, like that kind of idea. A fan of somebody is somebody that is happy when somebody else succeeds.
Yes.
And that you're really enjoying that idea of them having success because they seem to you to be a good person and you're happy because they're happy. And I think what he exuded at Comic-Con this year, I saw him on the floor.
Okay.
I've met him at previous cons. I think what he exudes is what the Marvel actors exude when you see them. So I think that he's bringing that level of excitement and frenzy to the DCU. I think Jason Momoa does the same thing. As much as he loves playing Aquaman, again, I don't know how that Aquaman is going to fit into the universe that they've built with Superman and Batman and Affleck and Cavill, but I mean, like, it just, those two movies, just the trailers blew me away.
Did you get to see them there, or did you see them live, or did you see them afterwards?
So here's the story. I'm in the press room at San Diego Comic-Con.
Okay.
The press room is above Hall H. And I turned to a friend of mine and I said, "Hey, Joe." She looked at me. She goes, why is the room shaking? And I said, hold on a second. And I went on YouTube, and a minute, it said, posted 1 minute ago, Warner Brothers posted the Shazam trailer.
Okay.
And then the entire room shook again. And I was like, oh, they just played the Aquaman trailer. Like, it is that energizing that you're sitting in a room above Hall H, and the entire room, the tables, like, you thought you were in an earthquake. I mean, it was that amazing to be above that room. So I can't imagine what it was like being in that room with everybody. So I think you're wrong about Shazam. Okay, I think it's going to be amazing.
To your point about how it all fits in there, I don't think it matters anymore because you know of the worlds of DC. Okay, so I don't think that matters anymore. I
don't. And they were talking about that actually in the I keep playing with my Cosmic Cube.
Jesus.
Okay.
Well, let's explain what the worlds of DC. What is Worlds of DC?
This.
Okay.
I just did this.
Okay. Explain what Worlds of DC is.
Okay, so I don't know. No. So Worlds of DC is the idea of the multiverse, I think, taken into the real world. And
the DC extended universe or expanded universe no longer exists. That as a name, as a moniker, doesn't exist anymore.
Right. And so the idea is, and it came up while I was I lost my words.
It's okay.
It came up while well, you're gonna laugh because again, it's name dropping. So it came up when we were talking to Jason O'Mara.
You didn't answer my question. Why you got pictures of Jerry O'Connell? You got any pictures of Becky?
What? Becky who?
Rebecca Romaine.
Oh, Becky.
Who else would Becky be?
Because
we're just that way.
I'm like, wait, are you confused? He's not John Stamos. He doesn't have a Becky. So we sat down with the cast of Death of Superman.
Yep.
So we talked to Jason O'Mara, we talked to Jerry O'Connell, we talked to Rebecca Romaine. And the idea behind it is that it's the same tact they're taking with the animated movies, where there might be this thread that you see with like Cavill and Godot and Levi and Momoa playing the big characters, but then you're going to have these side projects where somebody else is going to play those major roles. So the idea that you can have Joaquin Phoenix playing the Joker over here, while in the main universe, it's what's his name, Jared Leto, the doppelgang version.
Not Larry Jetto. That's somebody altogether different.
It's off camera. So it's that idea that you can have these multiple sources, and tell all these different stories, but they don't connect. And it's the idea of fitting into a comic book world, where you've got all these different authors and writers and Elseworlds and storylines and events. And
it's beautiful. I don't know why. I'm glad they're doing it.
Yes, but I think we're spoiled by Marvel.
Okay. I agree, but that's why we don't. That's why DC should do it this way, because they'll never. They can't beat Marvel. They can't even.
But they could. That's the problem. They could.
They could,
They've
but not
got
anymore.
Batman. They've got Superman. How do you not beat? How does a C-level character like Iron Man beat Superman? Like I think
what we're confusing is that whether they should or versus what should have happened versus what reality is, and they should have been out of the gate before Marvel with a But since they're not, I think this is the approach to take.
Since they're not, I think they're grasping at straws.
Well, yeah, in a way, they want to move forward with this Joker project, like you mentioned, and they still want to keep what's-his-face's Joker. All they need to do, go ahead.
They're going to do the same thing with Batman. They're talking about they're casting the Harvey Dent role this weekend.
That's fine. So, what they should do in the beginning of every movie is say, just a voiceover that explaining what the multiverse is. It's 3 minutes. It's a 3-minute voiceover in a universe, as like ours. There's the multiverse, and this story is part of the multiverse, and they just go and tell the story.
Right, but if they could do such a good job on the CW, why can't they pull their shit together in the movies?
I don't know, but they can't. But they're not going to.
But that CW crossover this year was better than the Justice League movie.
Oh, absolutely. But they are, for whatever reason, whoever is up there and is also in control of CW and is over here, they're just, these guys aren't talking. They don't know how to take one and go over. So.
Okay, so there's that. So that was one point.
I don't have a problem with Zachary. I think mostly it's the costume. I think the costume looks terrible.
But I think that's the idea. It's supposed to.
Okay.
It's supposed to be the idea of what does a 12-year-old think a superhero looks like.
Okay. Well, then maybe that explains it a little better.
So then when he says it, like he wants that power, so he creates this padded costume and he looks like this big superhero guy.
Well, see, now that makes a little bit more sense that he is creating that costume.
Yeah, it's
and really if he is, then that makes some sense.
And what do you think? Like, if you look back at Christopher Reeve in that suit, or Adam West in that suit, they're not like these big physically fit guys, right?
They're just regular dudes.
They're regular dudes in a unitard, like honestly, right?
Yeah.
But to a 5-year-old, they see the muscles.
Yeah.
They see the hero. They're larger than life. Because when I go back and think about Christopher Reeve as Superman, I think of him as like this giant, right?
Right.
But then if you go back and look at pictures of him, you're like, oh no, like he wasn't really buff.
He was just a dude.
He was just a regular. So the idea that like a 12-year-old kid, Billy Batson in the film, is going to create this look of Shazam for himself.
Okay.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And I wonder if that's going to morph throughout the film or if that's going to stay steady because, characters morph and change. And I have a feeling at some point there will be a darker skinned man in a unitard that doesn't need the padding that might show up.
Gotcha.
But you didn't hear that from me. So just saying, I'm just saying things you hear at Comic-Con, just in the whispers of the crowds.
I thought he wasn't going to be in it. I thought he said he wasn't in it. Okay, all right. Let's move on. So I'll just say, I'll pull a Trump and walk it back a little bit. If Billy Batson is going to create that costume, then it makes some sense. So I will walk it back a little bit.
Okay.
All right. What else should we talk about? Because that was 15 minutes we just spent talking about Shazam.
So my yearly plug for my thing, I thought you'd enjoy my cup this year.
Nice.
Front and center.
Nice.
Every year I buy myself a pint glass at Comic-Con.
Okay.
I don't know. I think the idea, I was listening and taking everything in and then trying to remember everything that you said the other day. Because as I was typing up stories in the press room the other day, I was listening and watching your YouTube show and the armchair commentary. I think there was a lot that was spot on. I think a lot of the stuff that you talked to, I want to say thank you for all the shout outs. It was was very humbling to hear somebody talk about it. You and DJ have been great about that. I think the toys, I think it's hard to say. I think they were a little lackluster.
Okay.
I think it's the same feeling I walked away from when we left Toy Fair this year.
Okay.
We're in a post Toys R Us world now.
Yes.
We were pre Toys R Us falling apart at Toy Fair.
It's weird, and everybody isn't
it? It was, and I did a live video during the Diamond Mini Mates panel, and everybody is up in arms. The fact that Walgreens is now the #1 supplier of Mini Mates. And Chuck from Diamond Select said in the panel, he goes, they are a pharmacy first. Their main concern is not stocking the shelves for toys.
Yeah.
So you may go in and buy your set of toys this week and you get them all. But you're not going to be back for 6 months maybe.
Yeah.
So they're stuck with all this other stock. So you better hope that there are other collectors. So that's why you're seeing like this stockpile of Mini Mates and Marvel Legends and things like that. But I think what and I talked to the Walgreens people in charge of toys at Walgreens at the show.
Okay.
And we talked about that, and the idea of, and this is from my perspective, not anything they said, but the idea of every few months, Mini Mates go on sale every few months. Marvel Legends go on sale to clear out the old stock to get in new stock. I think is a good move. I think they're committed and they're looking for online options for us. I mean, Marvel Legends already has an online option. I think Mini Mates might get there. I would caution you, if you search Mini Mates on the Walgreens site with children in the room, you might get some other mini things that you don't want to have that they have on there. So, which is a problem. But I think they're working towards that, so you can order. They are working towards the ability to order online.
What is Walgreens? I mean, what is their motive to be selling Mini Mates to begin with?
I think it's not only Mini Mates. I mean, they're doing Marvel Legends. They're doing Black Series. What
are they doing if they're thinking that you're only going to come in once every 6 months? Then what is their motivation for doing it?
Well, they've upped it. Here's the thing: they've upped it, and their hope. I think the hoping is that they're gonna So if I had to go to a drugstore, I used to go to CVS, right? But now, because there's a chance of new toys being at Walgreens, I shop at Walgreens. Like, I don't go to CVS. I don't go to, when there was a Rite Aid, I didn't go to Rite Aid. I looked for a Walgreens to shop at because I knew that Diamond and Hasbro were in their aisles.
Right.
And who knows what you're going to find, whether it's here in Connecticut or in Pennsylvania where you are or in California.
Right.
I'm going to go to the Walgreens before I go anywhere else. So I think that's what they're thinking. They're trying to bring you in because I'll buy a snack there. I'll buy a drink there. I'll buy whatever I need at Walgreens versus any other store because I've got a chance to find a toy.
Right. All right.
And I think they're trying to capitalize on that toy hunting mentality that you're gonna be brand loyal to their stores if you find stuff there. So I think that's where they're going. I think overall, like Marvel Legends, great reveals, amazing reveals. I couldn't be happier.
I think they really put out. I was surprised how much Marvel Legends put out.
It didn't seem that much to me being there.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's like I think it's just a dump. I think in this bag, I have Marvel Legends that I haven't opened yet. Okay. And I think that I just came home from San Diego and I've got all of these still to open. So and they're just going to sit here until I can get to them. I think, we've got the AIM soldiers. We've got the Archangel. I think
Archangel looks awesome. When's he coming out?
October 1st, I think, is the listing on GameStop.
Is he exclusive? He's an exclusive GameStop.
Yeah. Okay. But I think what I really, really love, and I can swear, right? We're not.
You can do whatever the fuck you want.
Okay, good. I love I have sold stuff on eBay. I am not above selling stuff on eBay.
Okay.
I have profited on selling stuff on eBay. Not profited, but like I've been able to break even based on things like this, and sell older collection. Like sometimes things go up and things go down. I like the idea that Hasbro is saying fuck you to all our eBay scalpers. If you look at the prices for all the Marvel Legends that have come out of San Diego Comic-Con, the Raph set and the Doctor Strange set all go up in value. The X-Force set, all these things that come out of there. Screw you, scalpers. Like, forget it. You don't want to pay $80 for an Archangel? Don't. Pay $30 at GameStop in 4 months.
I got you.
Like Hasbro's doing the same thing with Star Wars. You don't want to pay $100 for an IG-88 or Boba Fett? Fuck you. We're going to put out the archive editions, and we're going to make sure that, what they've been doing with the 3.75 figures for the past 30, 40 years, they're going to do with the 6-inch now, where they're going to have the real sculpt head, so that Luke Skywalker is coming out in the X-Wing pilot gear.
I saw that.
It's going to have a real scan head, but the rest of the figure's the same.
Yeah.
So if you missed it, you can go get it if you want the figure to open.
Right.
Same thing with Boba Fett. Same thing with Box. Same thing with IG-88. Those
aren't they all coming out together? Isn't Luke going to be part? Is that the wave?
That's the wave. Okay. That's the archive edition wave. Because by the end of this year,
does Luke have the mold too? Did I see that?
I'd have to go back and look.
I think he does. I think he's got the mold.
But the idea is minimal changes to figures. It's highly demanded figures. And Steve has been saying that. Steve Evans from the Star Wars team has been saying that for years. Like, don't pay eBay prices. We're looking at ways. I mean, look what they did with the vintage wave. You wanted R2? Don't pay $60 for him. He's coming back out.
Right.
You'll get wherever you want. So I like that idea. I don't know. What else you want to know about Comic-Con?
Mattel. What did you think of the DC figures? What did you think of the DC figures, and why can't they get them in stores faster?
They surprised me because for the past few years, there has not been a DC panel at the show.
Okay.
It's been a wrestling panel or a Mattel Collectors panel or whatever, but there hasn't been a DC panel. There was a DC panel this year, and I missed it.
No shit.
Yeah, I had other things going on, so I didn't go. I saw the slides that came out of it.
Okay.
And I was impressed. I think that Starfire is gorgeous. I think that Nightwing is 100% new tooling. That's all new body parts that they're using for him. They're not using older stuff. I think Linda Carter came out great. I don't know if it's enough to pull me back in and start collecting Mattel stuff again.
Okay.
I mean, like, I'll get the Nightwing, I'll get the Starfire. I don't need that Wally. I have a good Jon Stewart, like, that matches. That Nightwing and Starfire are like their film. Like, I think Mattel has the same problem that DC movies have. They can't get their shit together. They can't, like, I don't know, because they don't understand the idea of continuity. Like, everybody that has DC Universe Classics doesn't want them to be so aesthetically different than the rest of them. So there's no way I'm jumping in and starting all over again.
Why can't, is it, they have the example of Hasbro right next to them. I don't understand. Maybe you're absolutely right. Maybe it is the equivalent is the movie universe. I just don't get why they can't in some way, shape, or form replicate, whether it's a joint universe. I mean, look, when Hasbro puts out a line, it's half comic and it's half movie.
Except the new Black Panther wave. Wave 2 is all movie.
All right,
well, and that's the first time they've done that.
Granted. But I don't understand why Mattel, from what I've seen, those figures look great. That the latest line with Batwoman, that was out, last year? I have not seen it yet.
No, and I've only seen a couple figures for it. I think that they have just shit the bed. I think they can't. This goes back to the animated lines, where they wouldn't let us have a Hal Jordan. Like, he was in one episode, but they wouldn't let us have a Hal Jordan, or they wouldn't let him use Hal Jordan. Like, for what? Because Ryan Reynolds is going to be Hal Jordan, so you can't use him in the animated. Like, the idea that it dilutes it, like the idea that, like, Hasbro and Marvel Studios have proven that you can make everybody together, you can make them all alike, and the fans will come out and buy them. I talked to everybody I talked to was like, oh yeah, these DC figures look great. I'm like, so you back into buying Mattel? They're like, yeah, no. Like, yeah, no, they look nice, but no. We're done with this. Like, I
don't know.
For whatever reason. I mean, it's happening with the Masters of the Universe stuff. No, the Masters of the Universe line. Like, everybody's like, well, why am I going to go buy another figure? Like, why do I have to keep jumping in? Or like, why do I have to keep starting over? Or why do I have to, why can't you just finish what was there? Like, why? Because does a Marvel Legend that was made since Hasbro took over, that started, when they did that Thor and Constrictor, do those hold up next to the modern Marvel Legends? I don't, I got Rogue right here, or no, I got Red Skull right here. Does it stand up to this? No, it doesn't. But it's close enough. The changes are so minute, and they're getting better to hide them, that it's easier to fit in this Red Skull with an older movie figure. So,
but I think the point goes back to what you said about the Star Wars recirculating figures, but they're slightly updated. If I want to get that Starfire, and she was out 3 years ago, and I missed her, the first time, then put her out. Like, I don't get it. Change something about her costume.
I don't get it either. I don't get it either. I really wish I did. But it's the decisions. And, I had some really good talks, and I can't specifically say who, but I had some really good talks with some toy designers at Comic-Con this year. Our focus was toys. And, we talked about the idea of retooling things, making things over and over again. The difference between making a Lego and making an action figure, because the steel plates degrade over time. We talked about that learning curve, and why fans get upset when they have to pay for a learning curve, and the idea of a new company taking over an existing product. They don't have the tools, and when I say the tools, I'm talking about, so I don't know how technical we can get. I'll just do it really quickly. So there's I'll use, and I'm not trying to show off. But listen.
No.
So if this is a steel tool, right, half of this side, it's got all bumps and ridges in here. So half of this, right, has one side of the figure on it, and this half has the other side of the figure. And at the at the factory, they put them together like this, right? They put them together like this, and then they pour the hot plastic inside of here, and then it fills up, and then they open up the mold. If I can get this open again, and they pop out the plastic piece, and you've got the toy, right? With a Lego, it has to be precise because the blocks always have to fit together. So the minute that the steel molds falls apart, you have to start over again, right? So they're very expensive to make the molds, and you have to make a certain number to kind of make it worth it, to make the toy, and blah blah, all that piece, all those pieces to it. So every time that you make a new toy, a new company does, they have to make the new tools. Because do you think Mattel is going to give Hasbro their tools? Like, no. Do you think, NECA is going to hand over something they've done to another company? No, they're not going to. So that company then has a time limit on their contract to get those tools made, done, and out. So that's why when you look at the first wave that somebody makes, if it's not something they've ever done before, if it's not like a general buck, like, it's not like a general figure like this, and they can't reuse parts here and there. Yeah, that first wave's gonna be a learning curve. If it's a different scale, if it's different size, all those things factor in, and all these things I never thought about. I just sit here and go, well, why are we paying for DC Collectibles to have a learning curve on a figure? That's why.
Okay, so I think we talked about how collectors don't want to jump in, do this, do that. I think as collectors, there's somebody, DC Collectibles and the New Essentials line, right? They had icons. Icons, I thought was fine. I mean, smaller than Legends, but I get how collectors at this point want to be in line with Legends. I understand. Right. So when you are creating a new line, if I'm not a completist, so if they come out, which they came out with Batman, Deathstroke, Flash, and Reverse Flash.
Right.
I don't care about Deathstroke, so I wouldn't get that one. I have enough Batman figures that I'm not getting that Batman.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm going to pick up Flash. I'm going to pick up Reverse Flash, even though I have a couple Flashes already. I might have a Reverse Flash, but I like Reverse Flash. And really, the only reason I don't pick up that Batman is because I literally have a fuck ton of Batman figures.
Yeah, no, and I think that's the problem. I mean, it's it's
where I'm going with that was just because I have a fuck ton of Batman figures. There's always new fans that are coming in to pick up that Batman figure.
Well, and that's the idea. I asked Dwight at Hasbro, like, why are you doing why'd you do a Green Goblin a couple years ago? Why are you doing a new Doc Ock? And he said, well, because if you want those figures, you've got to buy the Toy Biz ones, and those are $50, $60, $100.
Right, and who wants to spend it? And that goes back to the Star Wars thing.
Exactly. So if you want a Boba Fett, like you have to pay this exorbitant amount. So who wants to do that? So,
there's always going to be that somebody who's willing to pay that $100 for that Boba Fett.
The original,
right? And that's the completist. But for me, who just saw Star Wars, loves Boba Fett, I'm 8 years old. My mom's not going to buy $100. She don't even want to spend $20.
Right. So I there's that too. So all right, toy talk.
All right, Toy Talk.
Comic-Con. What do you want?
Let's talk. What'd you think of Titans? The Titans trailer.
All right. As I said at the beginning, this is part 1. Come back for part 2 soon.